Sorry, I was just smoking my Hawks pack. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a Toronto Raptors recap. Very nice victory tonight against the red-hot Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks came into tonight's game winning 5 straight basketball games, and Atlanta didn't have enough. They did not have enough. I was a little worried at the start of the game because I'm like, all right, Toronto's going to have to score some points. Last 5 games for the Hawks, they scored an average of 128.4 points per game. And, well, Toronto scored 118. So welcome back to the channel, man. Obviously, we got a Raps video tonight. Let's try and hit 118 likes, although Raptor Nation, knowing that, you'll go above and beyond and bless me with like 300. Appreciate you guys, man. Hit that subscribe button for daily Raptors content and NBA content. This was a very big moral victory. Now, if you guys have been watching my streams, there are things I'm looking in particular in these last, well, now it's going to be the next 3 games, but, you know, granted with tonight, the last 4 games. I was looking for guys like Freddie to get back in his groove, Gary Trent to get back in his groove, Pascal to continue his domination, Scotty continue his domination, but mainly the bench. I was really looking, keeping an eye out on the bench, and we'll talk about the bench a little later on in today's video. But, you know, to be honest with you guys, this wasn't the most pretty Raptors victory. The fourth quarter was a little hit or miss until like the last handful of minutes when the Raptors defense really just clamped up. Raptors defense, I thought, did a phenomenal job. Trae Young had like 9 and 5 after the first quarter. They were able to pretty much neutralize him for the rest of the game, and just an all-around good win. I mean, keep in mind, I know Atlanta is like, what, the 8th seed in the East, maybe even the 9th seed. I don't even remember. I think they're the 8th seed. This is a team that made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. This is a team that is a second-half team. And when you're playing, I wouldn't say like a rival, but you're playing like a division opponent or a conference opponent, might I add. So a huge win. It's just a huge win. There's 3 games left for the Raptors. I don't really want to get into too much about division like ranking, seeding. You know, the Bulls kind of suffering right now. I do think Toronto will finish with that 5 seed. Remaining games are at home against Philly. Then you have the Rockets and the Knicks. So I think at worst the Raptors finish the season off at 2-1. So 46-33, top 10 defense, and there were a lot of things to be happy tonight. Personally, Scotty Barnes and Siakam, they were absolutely huge. Siakam with 31, 13, and 6, making his case for All-NBA. If Siakam doesn't get an All-NBA, I will be pretty upset. Scotty Barnes, domination, especially as far as offensive rebounds go, just rebounding in general tonight, 19 points, 14 rebounds, very efficient, 7 out of 13 from the field. Scotty Barnes, 6 offensive boards tonight, and it's not like they were all without Capella. I mean, Capella definitely had a huge impact. I will say, I will let that be known. Capella's paint presence, even if he just, like, even if a Raptors player drove to the paint and Capella wasn't like necessarily on him, there's a very strong presence. And so Scotty Barnes with 6 offensive rebounds, the guy just knows where to be. He just always knows where to be, never gives up on the play. And just shout out Scotty Barnes, man. A lot of love. Freddie had a terrible basketball game, like just an absolute garbage offensive game. 12 points, 9 rebounds. Doesn't sound that bad, but he shot 4-21 from the field, 2-12 from downtown. I'm not worried about Freddie whatsoever. He had a absolutely major clutch 3 to end to pretty much seal the basketball game. I'm not worried with Freddie. The defense he plays is awesome. You know, he's going to facilitate the ball. He's going to play make for his teammates, and, you know, just give him some time. Obviously, he's still working on that sore knee. Had a good game against Toronto. Had a good game against Miami 2 nights ago. So I'm not too worried about Freddie, but I would like to see him have like 2 good games, 2 out of 3 good offensive, as far as like offensive efficiency goes. Ken Birch, I was actually kind of impressed with him tonight. I know he finished with a team worse, -11, but 5 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. I felt like he got some, you know, important, I wouldn't even know if the word important rebounds is good, but Ken's one of those kind of wild cards on the Raptors. If he's playing good, if he's playing good defense, and he's going to produce offensively, he's definitely a threat. But I would say is still very underwhelmed with Ken Birch's season, but tonight I felt like he was, getting a little bit on the right track. Gary Trent, one of those players that, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm kind of hoping he starts to have some nice offensive games. Nothing special offensively tonight, although he did finish with 14 points. He did have a second-to-team high plus 19, and we're going to be talking about who had the high plus minus tonight. Let's just talk about it now. The bench, I thought, was huge for him. The bench, I thought, was absolutely huge for him. Thaddeus Young, Thad Young with the hammer, 7 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist. Made his one corner three, Thad corner three Young, as they say. Thaddeus is an important piece. He's a very important piece. And I know a lot of Raptors fans at the time of the trade were, pretty hesitant, kind of like, why did you give up a first-round pick? Well, it's not the end of the world. The Raptors plan on making a postseason run, and my guess is that the Raptors didn't have anybody that they desperately needed with where they were projected, probably a low 20. And so you got the Detroit Pistons pick as well. That's going to be early second round. So it really isn't the end of the world. Keep in mind, Toronto is not rebuilding. They're I wouldn't even necessarily call them retooling, but I guess they're kind of retooling, just kind of waiting on a lethal center. You give them any center, I know my boy Nick was commenting in my stream today saying DeAndre Ayton. DeAndre Ayton goes to the Raptors, they're an immediate Eastern Conference final threat. So Ken Birch, Precious, Chris Boucher, Thaddeus, they're holding it down. Speaking of holding it down, though, Chris Boucher, very impressive game at 18.7 rebounds, 7-11 from the field, 3 of 5 from downtown. There's no surprise. Freddie, in one of during a commercial break, they were asking Freddie, obviously pre-recorded, who's the guy who goes the hardest in practice. He said Chris Boucher, the guy who will go 100% in just a simple walk around. Those are the players that you want on your team, especially come playoff time. That's the culture you're trying to establish. So having a guy like Chris Boucher get hot is definitely a threat. And if Chris Boucher is giving you 18 and 7 off the bench in just 22 minutes, you have a very nice chance of winning that basketball game. So shout out to Chris Boucher. He wasn't the only guy, though. Precious Achiuwa, team high, plus 21, 4 of 11 from the field. Unfortunately, went 0 of 4 from downtown. But keep in mind, this was a guy who I believe only took 1 3 in his last 2 seasons in college and in Miami. So he's getting there. He is definitely getting there. He's developing a shot. Second half, it's going to be lower now that he went 0-4 tonight. But coming into tonight's game, he was pretty much a 40% three-point shooter since the All-Star break. So shout out to Precious. Did see some minutes from Delano early in the first quarter, but that was pretty much it. Did see Malachi Flynn make his comeback. I'm very hopeful for Malachi Flynn. I think he's an important piece on the bench as far as scoring goes. Toronto didn't necessarily have tonight moments where they were desperately trying to score the basketball, but I would say having a guy like Malachi coming off the bench who could hopefully give you at least 8 points a night off the bench is going to be a huge difference maker. So great win for Toronto, man. Let's try and hit 118 likes and drop some comments on tonight's game. Peace.